going on? I hope you are out there staying good and being great. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the complete list of cars that I've ever owned. I'll try to include a picture or two of each, and then, kind of go in and tell a little bit about that, maybe a story with it or something like that. So I guess technically speaking, my first car or vehicle that was mine was a 2005 kody. It was red, some big wheels, a little bit of a lift on it. It was a 2500 HD. It was a nice truck, really nice. I say it's kind of mine, more like mine and my dad's truck. Bad way or anything, but he bought the truck when I was 15 and he drove it around. He worked out of town a lot, so he took it with him and everything. He ended up wrecking the truck. He was coming out of a turn, and as he come out, somebody else pulled out too, and he drove up on the hood of a little car and was sitting like that. Nobody was hurt, wasn't any big deal. Cops showed up, got the full statements, and told him he was free to go. So he just backed off there and drove it home. I ended up not keeping it. I let my dad keep the truck, and I bought another truck, or I went in halves with between my mom and stepdad, and then I paid half on a 91 Toyota pickup. And that was technically my first truck. I didn't do a whole lot with it. When I got it, it had a little bit of a lift, some bigger tires. It was red, had some camo down the side. I think I have a picture of it. I didn't have that truck long. I had it for maybe 4 months or so. I got it in August, right around when school started, and I kept it until a little after December. And I had a blast in that truck. I just seen it sitting on the side of the road about 2 months ago in a little shop. They had it sitting out for probably 2 months, and I tried to buy it back and they would not sell it. But I did give it a shot. I want that truck back so bad. It was the most fun I've had in a truck. So after I kept it for 4 months, I ended up saving up a little bit of money from the current job that I had. I sold the truck for $4,000, took the $5,000 that I had gained from the $1,000 that I had saved up and the $4,000 I got from the truck, and I bought a 2003 Mustang GT convertible. That was the car to have. I had that car for probably 2 or 3 years. I kept it for a while. That was the car I learned how to do everything in. I learned everything from my first burnout, my drifts, anything you can think of, you name it, I did it in that car. It was the perfect vehicle. I ended up selling it because I thought I wanted a truck again. I wish I'd have never done it. I have plenty of stories for that car, but I don't want to ruin any for future purposes. I've got a couple of story times planned out that involve that car. Once I decided, hey, I think I want a truck again, I ended up trading that thing even for a 98 Silverado. And I don't know if I have pictures of this. If I manage to find one, I'll throw it up here. But it was white with camo. For whatever reason, I don't plan to just pick camo on the sides of the trucks. I swear, I know it was on that 91 pickup and then again on the 98. That's just how they were when I bought them. But I traded it even for that. I kept it for a few months. I never did anything with it. It was never anything that I really made memories from. I think I took it out of town once and I didn't drive it hard. I was just moving out onto my own. So all the responsibilities of that kind of coupled in, I just slowed down a lot. I didn't go out as much. So there's not a whole lot to that truck except for the fact that I hated it. I thought I wanted a truck. I was very wrong. I did not like having it at all. It drove slow. I'm talking about on the way home, I had to drive to the other side of Mississippi, almost into Memphis and Tennessee. On the way back, I had that thing to the floor, like the pedal was on the floor. The speedometer showed 75 in a 70, but people were steadily passing us. I don't think I was doing 75. In all honesty, that was probably the slowest vehicle I've ever owned, and it will be the slowest vehicle I ever owned. The transmission ended up going out on me at one point coming home from Tennessee. I went up for a family reunion, and as I pulled into my driveway, like the last 3 minutes of my drive, I had to cruise at like 10 miles an hour because the transmission went out as I pulled back in and it just would not go anymore. I ended up trading that truck even after I put the transmission in it for the car that Dylan has now, that 2006 Mustang. Now it looked way different whenever I had it, and I can do a before and an after picture. When I owned it, it looked similar to this. I didn't do much with it, especially not compared to what Dylan's done with it so far. He has completely transformed that car into something that I never knew it could be. all I did, there was a hood scoop on the front of it that looked like it was from AutoZone. I took it off, I cleaned it up, I put some vinyl on the wheels to give them a different appearance, and just cleaned it about once a day and drove it. That's all I ever did. I didn't do a whole lot to it at all. I just left it alone and I babied that thing. Because I was just happy to have a car again, get out of that stupid truck. And I drove that Mustang for probably a year and a half, before I was driving to and from lunch every day in my current job. And we passed by a little dealership every day on our way to lunch, and the Subaru was sitting there. And we passed by it, and it's like, I have to have that car. So I went in and I talked to him. I ended up buying the Subaru from there. It looked different than what it does now, but I have showed you the picture in one of the previous videos. I'll put a before and after of it as well here. But that being said, I have done a lot more than I've done to any other vehicle I've ever owned to that Subaru. It is the new baby. It's not going anywhere unless someone just offers me a ridiculous price, because everything's for sale. But since I've owned the Subaru, and that's been my daily driver, I have owned several other side cars that we have either built or just bought because it was a good deal and then resold. Starting with, I bought a 1993 Jeep Wrangler from a guy. He had rolled it out on a trail. He was going real slow, and it just rolled over upside down or on its side, one of the two, and it crushed the windshield in. And I'll have pictures of this, but we done a restoration on it. So when it rolled over and we actually bought it, it looked like this picture here that I'm putting up on the screen. It was rhino liner. All that gray and everything that you see was all rhino liner. It was terrible. The windshield was crushed in. It didn't have fenders on one side. And then we took everything apart. I say everything. Took what we needed to apart. We got new fender flares for it. We got a new windshield put on it, a new windshield frame. We took all the rhino liner off, and that was a job in itself. It was an airplane paint remover and paint scrapers to just take it off. It took days on top of days of doing it. We ended up getting all that off. We sanded it down real good, and then my dad, he ended up painting it. We painted it a slate gray, and the finished results was this. When we got it finished, it ended up being a lot prettier than what we thought it was going to be, and we kept it for a little while. I kept it for a little while. We didn't take it out much. I think I took it to Stony one time, and Dylan took the Tahoe of his dad's Tahoe, and we went out and mud rode at a park near here that you can do that at. That was about it. Then we cleaned it up, and I ended up selling it to my dad. After I sold the Jeep, I ended up taking a break. I only had the Subaru for a little while, and then I bought a 2003 Infiniti G35, the coupe. It was beat. It was terrible. I bought it from a local shop around here, the guy that builds drift cars. That's what they planned to do with it. It was an automatic, but they were going to swap a manual into it. When I bought it, it didn't have door panel. It didn't have an interior in it at all. It didn't have windows. The only window it had was the windshield. The entire, like I said, interior down to, it had 2 seats and the steering wheel, and then it didn't have a shift knob on it. You just had to push the top of the thing down that the shift knob goes on and put it in gear. And I kept it for a little while, but it just sat mostly. I didn't do much with it. I ended up paying, I paid $1,000 for it, and I turned around and sold it for $1,600. So I made a little bit of a profit off of that. Then I bought the Miata that you've seen on this channel, and we didn't do a whole lot for it either. You know, I have a habit of selling things after a little while, and I'm not sure why. But we done pretty much everything you've seen on the channel to it, between the wing. We painted some back parts. It didn't have a bumper on it. Just small stuff. I ended up, when I bought it, I had $1,400 in it. The guy sold it to me. He was going to make a drift car out of it. Decided he didn't want to, and they had already taken the motor. It was originally a 1.6 liter, but they had taken the 1.8 liter from the race car that had headers and things like that, and they had already put in that car, and then decided they didn't want to use it, so they sold it to me. It never gave me any problems whatsoever. We drove it for a long time. We had it for probably a year almost. I ended up selling it, or no, I traded it for the Ninja, the motorcycle, and I'll have pictures here. This was during our downtime over the summer, but we traded the car for a Ninja motorcycle, and then I realized very fast that I don't like motorcycles. I'm terrified of them after that, So I traded the Ninja for a little white four-wheeler and $600, and then sold the four-wheeler for $1,500 and bought the red four-wheeler with the money that I had gotten out of the four-wheeler and the motorcycle. That almost wraps it up. The only other vehicle I've owned since then is the 98 Silverado that I currently own, other than the Subaru, which was given to me by my grandfather, and it's currently being worked on. There's videos coming for it as we go, but I'll throw a picture of it up here anyways, just to kind of show you what it looks like now. Here very soon. We just got it back from the shop just a couple of days ago. It's running and driving somewhat. It needs some brake work and transmission fluid replaced with a filter, and then it should be good to go. After that, it'll be cleaning it, stripping it down, wrapping it, things of that nature to get it looking and where I want it. But you'll be along with us to kind of see that process unfold as we go, because we're going to try and take you with us through each step of the truck as we go, whether it's something small or big. We're going to try and include it, and that way you can see this build from start to finish. So in total, from 16 to 23, I have owned 11 cars. But that's going to about do it for this video. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more videos like this, tell us in the comments, leave a like, and until next time, be great.